Catherine de' Medici, the queen who played the Game of Thrones. She was born in 1519 in Florence, a city of splendor and secrets, of art and poison. Her name was Catherine de' Medici, and though she entered the world as a mere orphaned heiress, she would become one of the most powerful and feared queens in European history. From the moment she drew her first breath, Catherine's life was a labyrinth of politics and survival, a true real-life Game of Thrones. Her father, Lorenzo de' Medici, Duke of Urbino, died when she was just a few weeks old. Her mother, a French noblewoman named Madeleine de la Tour d'Auvergne, followed shortly after. Catherine became a pawn in the endless chess game of European alliances. Raised in convents, she learned early that her worth lay not in her innocence, but in her strategic value. At 14, she was married off to Henry, Duke of Orléans, the second son of King Francis I of France. No one expected her to become queen. Henry was not the heir, and Catherine, despite her Medici wealth, was considered a foreigner, a banker's daughter, a girl from a family known more for cunning than for royal blood. Yet fate has a peculiar sense of irony. When Henry's older brother died unexpectedly, Catherine was thrust into a new reality, the next Queen of France. But even as queen, her life was overshadowed by her husband's mistress, Diane de Poitiers, a woman nearly 20 years her senior, whom Henry loved openly and devotedly. Catherine endured humiliation with a quiet intensity. She was kept in the shadows while Diane wore the jewels, sat beside the king, and held the keys to his heart. For 10 long years, Catherine struggled to give Henry an heir. The court whispered that she was cursed, sterile, unworthy. But Catherine was no ordinary woman. Desperate and determined, she consulted astrologers and alchemists, and even allowed doctors to perform invasive examinations, unheard of at the time. At last, she began to bear children, 10 in total, though only 7 survived infancy. Her dynasty was secured, but the price was heavy. When Henry II died in a jousting accident in 1559, Catherine's world transformed overnight. Her eldest son, Francis II, became king at just 15. Weak and sickly, he was under the thumb of the powerful Guise family. Catherine watched her son's throne slip from her fingers and realized that if she did not act, her children, and her own influence, would vanish into history. After Francis's early death, her second son, Charles IX, became king at only 10. Catherine stepped forward as regent and true ruler of France. The realm was crumbling under the weight of religious wars between Catholics and Huguenots. France was a cauldron of hatred, ready to boil over. Catherine played both sides, weaving webs of diplomacy and betrayal, promising peace while preparing for war. Perhaps her most notorious act was the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre in 1572. Initially, Catherine arranged a marriage between her daughter, Marguerite, known as Margot, and the Protestant leader, Henry of Navarre. It was meant to reconcile the two factions, to heal France's bleeding wounds. But in the days following the wedding, under the black August sky, thousands of Protestants were slaughtered in Paris. The Seine ran red with blood. Catherine's exact role remains debated, but many believed she orchestrated it, whispering commands in the dark, always cloaked in veils of plausible deniability. She was accused of being a poisoner, a schemer, a cold-blooded queen mother who manipulated her sons like pieces on a chessboard. Some called her the Black Queen or Italian Serpent. Yet Catherine was more than a villain in black velvet. She was a mother fighting for her children's survival in a country tearing itself apart. She knew that mercy was often seen as weakness, and weakness meant death. Catherine was a woman of contradictions. She adored the arts, introducing Italian fashion, cuisine, and ballet to the French court. She built magnificent gardens and hosted elaborate festivals with fireworks and masquerades that dazzled Europe. Yet, Beneath the shimmering gowns and the scent of roses, there was steel, an unwavering will to keep her family alive and in power. As each of her sons took the throne, Francis II, Charles IX, and finally Henry III, Catherine stood beside them, guiding, commanding, protecting. She was queen, regent, and advisor. She was the spider at the center of the web, but the web frayed, and the family she sacrificed so much to preserve began to unravel. Charles IX died young, tormented by guilt and paranoia. Henry III, flamboyant and troubled, alienated allies and invited enemies. Catherine watched as the Valois dynasty she fought so fiercely to uphold drifted towards oblivion. Her beloved daughter Margot was exiled after scandal, her sons estranged and vulnerable. In 1589, Catherine de' Medici died at the age of 69, worn down by grief and endless struggle. She had outlived all but two of her children. With her death, the Valois dynasty crumbled. Henry of Navarre, her son-in-law, eventually took the throne as Henry IV, founding the Bourbon dynasty and ending the wars that had consumed France. Catherine's legacy is as intricate as the embroidery on her velvet gowns. To some, she was a Machiavellian monster. To others, a courageous mother and ruler who did what she must in an age when a woman's power was both feared and despised. Her story is not one of pure villainy, nor of saintly sacrifice. It is a story of survival, of love twisted into power, and power twisted into tragedy. Catherine de' Medici was the queen who played the ultimate game of thrones, not in fantasy, but on the very real, blood-soaked chessboard of Renaissance France. And even now, centuries later, her name echoes as a symbol of the price of power and the impossible choices that define a ruler's soul. Thank you so much for watching. If you like more stories like these, please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share for more.